Hello there, Medicine here, and this is an episode of BJD and a cup of tea. Today's tea is my Amniese blend that you can buy on adagio.com. Link is in the description. Alright, so today's BJD and a cup of tea is all about FaceUps. We're going to talk about what is a FaceUp, company versus custom, what blank dolls, sculpts, and kind of like the how-tos. How do you do FaceUps? How do companies do FaceUps? How do you do it at home? That kind of thing. So let's get started. First of all, a FaceUp is the term for the doll's paint on their face. So like makeup for people, FaceUp for dolls. Do not put human makeup on dolls. Human makeup has oil and moisturizers and things that can kind of get into the resin, the doll resin, kind of break it down, can leave residue, can stay because resin is a bit porous. So whatever stays on that doll will stay on that doll, and oil and things are not good for resin. That's all the disclaimer. Alright, moving forward. So, when you buy these dolls from a company, you have the option to buy them blank. This is a blank doll. There's no paint, there's no blushing on it, there's nothing on it, it's just blank, straight from the company. I actually do have a layer of Mr. Super Clear on this, because I put that on all of my dolls almost when I can, when I get them, because it helps kind of protect them, a little protective barrier on the doll. But that is a blank doll. You can buy your dolls blank, which means nothing on them, or you can buy them with the company FaceUp. So this is an example of a company FaceUp. So when you order the doll, you can order them blank, or you can pay more to have the company do the FaceUp. And when you do the FaceUp, there are options. Usually we call it the default FaceUp. Default company FaceUp is the full term. And that's basically the standard FaceUp that the company offers for that particular sculpt. Another doll term, sculpt. When you talk about doll sculpts, it's kind of like the make and model of a doll. The make would be the company, the doll company, so like Angel Studio. The model would be, what is it, Ice Queen Helda? Is that the sculpt? The sculpt. So those would be your make and models. I got Doll Zone is the company, Orlando 2 is the sculpt, and so on and so forth for all of my dolls. So when you find a sculpt that you like, a doll that you like, look at the company photos. They always post the photos of what they look like fully blushed with the FaceUp. Blushed is another word for makeup. That's the makeup for the entire body. Body blushing is what we call the makeup that covers the whole body. So like she's got, her hands are done. So she's got her body blushing. You can see it's her knuckles are blushed. They've got pink on them. Her nails are done. They're a bit glossy. I don't know where else. Her knees. Maybe you can see it better in the knees. See her knees. Ooh la la. She actually has, this is, I believe this part is a blushing. I think this is actually clear. Yeah, so this part is body blush to be the same color as her resin, to kind of show that little gradient into the clear resin, which is her foot. So this is a body blushing when they paint the doll's body. A FaceUp is the painting on the face, body blushing is the painting on the body. When we use the term blushing, that's for the whole body. That's everything. That's just paint on the doll. Alright, so you can order the dolls blank with nothing. You can pay extra to have the company do the FaceUp. Sometimes you can pay extra to have the whole doll done, which is what I have for her. So default Anytime you hear the word default in the doll hobby, it means the company's thing. So if it's the default wig, it's the wig that came with the doll from the company. The default face-up is the standard face-up the company did. Those are the terms. So some companies actually offer multiple face-up options. Ippelhouse, which is Artunis is from, usually will do like a face-up A, face-up B, face-up C. A may be the standard face-up, like a real classic, like natural looking face-up. B may be a more brilliant or bright face-up, like darker lips or whatever. And C might be the fantasy style. Those are just from the company. Now there's also the option to order a blank doll and then do a custom face-up, and that is you do it yourself, DIY style, or you send it off to an artist to do it for you. Let's talk about the pros and cons of what company versus custom. So actually, more than half of my dolls have company face-ups. I believe 13, I think I counted recently. And that includes like little like the little dolls up here, like the dragon and my fairy and the demons. They have company face-ups. The pros to a company face-up is if you look at the doll, you look at the company photos, and you fall in love with the way the company did it, like the Ice Queen here, and you're like, that fits my vision for this particular doll, or I'm in love with it, you get it, just like it is. There might be some discrepancies because all face-ups are custom, like hand done, not custom, but all face-ups are hand painted, even if you order from a company, which is why it costs extra. There might be a little bit difference from what you see on the computer or what you see on the thing from what comes to you. But you kind of know what to expect if you're ordering the company face-ups. So what's nice about that is if you're not very artistically inclined or you don't have a lot of time and you fall in love with the photos, and if the company offers more than one option, it's great. You pay extra and it comes to you fully done and ready to go right out of the box. You don't have to do anything more. You just enjoy your doll. Custom, if you buy your doll blank, you can do it yourself. And that can be fun too, because maybe you have a certain style that, for that option, maybe you have an artistic idea of how that doll is supposed to look, or you have a vision for it. Or maybe you want to give it a different sort of emotion. The face-up really brings out the personality of the sculpt and of the character of your doll. So if you're wanting it to have more than just the kind of blank, default looking, like blank stare, you can do that yourself. You can give it more angry eyebrows. Now some companies might do some customizations for the face-ups. Not all companies offer it, but I think some companies are a little more flexible when they make these dolls for you, because each doll is basically made to order. That sometimes they have like a bunch that they made like a certain amount and they have them already made. Sometimes it's made to order, which is why they take a really long time to get to you, because it takes a long time to produce it. Because they cast it, they have to wait for it to dry, they have to sand it, they have to drill out the holes inside to make sure that the strings can go through. If they're doing any customizations as far as blushing or face-ups, that takes extra time because somebody has to actually sit down and paint the doll. So there's lots of things that go into the making of these dolls, and it's very all hands-on for the companies. And these are usually very small companies, like only a few people for each company that run. And they're so expensive, as a lot of people like to say, because it's hands-on. It's a lot of work, and resin can be toxic if you breathe it in, like the sanding and particles and stuff, so you have to do the extra for the protection and keep the people safe when they're working with some of these materials, and ventilated and all of that. There's a lot that goes into making these dolls, which is why they're so awesome and expensive at times. At times. You can find cheaper dolls, and even some of those companies like Bobobi and Resin Doll, I think is the two, they are cheaper dolls, and they actually offer a lot of customizations. I've heard of people asking for special resin colors that weren't available, and they would make it for them. Also, I think Doll, which is where Lysion and Ekion are from. I've heard of people asking for customizations there, and they've offered it. So it really depends on the company and what they offer, that you can have lots of customizations, because these are basically handmade and for you, like as purchased, made from scratch each time. You can also buy blank. Say there's a doll, it's a limited doll, and you want it right now, and it's only going to be around for X amount of months, and you're like, I gotta get this doll. But you don't want to pay for the face-up, or you don't like the face-up, buy it blank. There are people, artists, who do face-ups. You can always send it to get a face-up done. Now there are some risks in that, because you need to make sure that that artist is vouched for and has a lot of really good reviews, because shipping back and forth to people, unless you know somebody personally that lives near you, or that you trust personally to do that, there are some risks involved with anytime you ship these dolls. There's risks in them getting damaged in the mail. How do companies do face-ups? I watched a video where it showed the company doing face-ups, and what's neat about how some companies do face-ups is that they have kind of like face plates that they use. It's like a stencil that fits the doll's face, and they can quickly airbrush certain areas of the face. So like they can airbrush the base layer of the eyebrows. They can airbrush the base layer of the cheeks, the base layer of the lips. So that gives them a very good base to do, and they use airbrush. Companies, this is definitely done with some airbrushing. So acrylic paints are safe to use. And they do airbrushing, and then they come in with the fine, tiny little brushes and do the fine details. Magnifying glasses are great, because these are very tiny little things. And I'll show a close-up. I think I have a close-up of her. There are some very, very fine details in her eyes, from the eyelashes to the eyebrows, and even her lips have really fine little lines in them. The doll companies tend to be very detailed when it comes to their their face-ups and blushings. If you are doing it yourself, you don't have to be as detailed. You can be as nonchalant, like as not as you want. For example, Artunis and Al-Star, really their face-ups are just a couple colors. I think like 3 colors total. Just a darker shade of their skin for their lips, and then the color for the eyebrows, and then like maybe 2 colors, like a base color, and then like the detail color. And then the eyelashes, because I didn't put fake eyelashes in them. That's the other thing. These dolls, you can put fake eyelashes into the dolls. This one, my Ice Queen has those. She has ones on the top and on the bottom. It's pretty cool. So that's what the company did. That's what Angel Studio did, and it's gorgeous. So that's something you could do yourself with some school glue, PVC glue, Elmer's glue. You can glue in the eyelashes. So a company adds the eyelashes and stuff, and those are all things you can do. And it's very hand painted, so it could take a few hours to do, depending on, like I said, if they have the stencils and stuff, and if they use an airbrush, which is a little bit faster. Now what you would do if you wanted to customize it, the things that you would need is, first of all, disclaimer, no oils. Do not use any kind of oils. Don't use wax. Anything that could be like that has that kind of oil residue. You don't want that on your dolls. So avoid oil colors, avoid crayons that have wax in them, and some colored pencils are very heavy in the pigmentation. What you can use, and what we recommend, is acrylic paint, watercolors, watercolor pencils, chalk pastels. Now I don't know that sidewalk chalk would work, but chalk pastels have a very high pigment, so it's very deep colors that will show up as you spray. The other thing you're going to need, and those are just to color it, the coloring, is a base and a base coat. You're going to have to spray a base layer. I use the MSC, which is short for Mr. Super Clear, UV Cut, Matte. Or this is, it says flat. Testers releases something that's like an okay clear coat that would work too. Some people use. You just look around. I don't have all of the right things. I use Mr. Super Clear. That's the only thing I've ever used on my dolls, and I have a couple that still have quite a bit in it, and I haven't done it in a long time, so I haven't used any of the newer stuff for different things. Just look around and ask. If you're in a doll group, ask what's safe to use. Usually if it's safe for like Warhammer and miniatures, it's probably going to be okay to use on your dolls. You're going to want to put a base coat on your blank doll to give it some tooth. And what that means is you want it to have a little bit of a texture, especially if you're going to be using the chalk pastels, because you're going to grind those up into a fine powder, and you're going to use that powder and very lightly put it on there, and you need something that's going to hold it to the doll. And then you're going to want to do it in layers, which means you're going to do a coat of your pastels, like you're going to do like your base layer of pastels to give it something, and then you're going to spray, and you're going to let it dry, and then you're going to do another layer, spray, dry, spray, finish it up, spray on top, add your gloss, acrylic gloss. I would recommend like not a varnish, but like an acrylic gloss that's safe to use for when you're doing acrylic paints and you want it to have like a shine, a clear shine. I have a triple thick, it's like a clear coat. It's an acrylic, water-based. Water-based is going to be your best thing. So water-based glue, water-based paints, water-based is usually pretty safe for this, as long as it doesn't have oil. Which water and oil don't mix, so water-based is going to be your best options. If you have an airbrush and you know how to use it, that obviously is an option. That's what the companies use. Whatever clear coat you're using to do the base and the layers and the finish coat to protect it all and seal it all in, you want it to be a matte or a flat coat. Because if it's glossy, your doll's going to just be shiny and it's going to look like they've got a shiny sweat. If that's the only option to you, you just love your shiny doll. And maybe that's a style that you want, and that's fine. If that's what you want, go for it. Because these Mr. Super Clear and Testers releases flat, matte, and glossy options. So obviously any of those are your options. It's safe to use either way. But I prefer matte because it looks more natural than like a glossy, which would make the whole entire face shiny. I prefer to add little glossy accents to like the lips. All of my dolls have glossy lips. And I like to add it sometimes in the tear duct, because then, or the eyeliner, like so around the eye, to make the eyes kind of like stand out. So, because think of where your face is. And if you're doing a body blushing, same exact materials are used for the rest of the body. And what you would do for glossy, I like to do is the fingernails. Definitely. Whether it's male or female, I gloss up those fingernails. And there might be some other little areas that could add a little touch of gloss, if you know what I'm talking about. My last thing would be, do what you want. You paid for them. If you want to try to use oils on these dolls, we don't recommend it. We also don't recommend, I don't recommend permanent marker, because it can get into and stain the resin permanently. Those are not the kinds of things you want, because someday you could decide you want to get rid of this and wipe it clean and sell it, or you want to wipe it clean and do something different. That's what's really cool, is you can always take a doll and say you get bored of the look, you can always change it later. It's customizable forever. There are ways to remove it. If you want to remove a face up, there is, I think I covered this in another video. I would use the, I have Winsor & Newton brush cleaning. I covered this in my cleaning video just a minute ago. Like acrylic cleaner, paint remover would work. Acetone is another thing people use. I don't use it. I do have it. And there might be some other options that work on these dolls, but I just use the Winsor & Newton brush cleaner. That has been my default go-to. Acetone in it if it's really, really thick and it won't come out. And a toothbrush to get into the fine details. So removing face-ups and redoing them is an option. Just clean between Once you remove it, make sure you clean it really well to get any of that face remover stuff off, and dry it really good before you put a base coat. And always do your base coat, just like if you're doing nail polish or something like that, you want to do a base coat to protect your resin. It protects the resin from staining from your paints and stuff, but it also makes it easier to remove if you make a mistake, and it gives you, like I said before, a texture to add, especially if you're using dry stuff like watercolor pencil and chalk pastels. Those dry materials need a little bit more of a tooth to stick to better. So if you have a nice layer of the matte, which is going to give you more of a tooth because it's not flat, it's not like glossy and like sheen, the matte is going to give you a little bit more texture to do your face-ups. Or just buy from the company with the face-up done. Those are your options. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, bye!